I'm outside. I'm outside. It doesn't say out here. And I've just been ordered to leave the premises.
4K images of Earth have been released. Let's take a look. Wow. Wow. Neat.
You said this is the end of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So, just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's.
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them.
This episode of Tweaker Geographic, all aboard the Tweaker Express. This precious cargo contains livestock, generators, fans, gasoline, and all essential material necessary for survival. Let's just hope the train does not derail off of the Tweaker tracks.
We have decided to temporarily halt certain amounts of Medicaid funding that are going to the state of Minnesota in order to ensure that the state of Minnesota takes its obligations seriously to be good stewards.
This is the exact definition of dictatorship. The government is withholding life-saving services because they're mad at the people of Minnesota for standing up to them. This is cruel and it's evil.
Oh my God. Hey guys, good? You good, sir? All right, coming in. Okay, nobody made it into the room, right? Anybody made it into the room? All right, just wait real quick. Yes, everybody good? Give me a thumbs up. Everybody give me a thumbs up. Nobody made it into the room, right?
No, sir.
All right. Stay where you're at. We're going to have officers outside, okay? Okay.
A full body restraint device allegedly being used in ICE deportations. The full body restraint device is called the WRAP. The company that made a modified version of the device for ICE says it allows for people to be restrained during flights and long bus trips. However, lawsuits filed compare incorrect usage of the WRAP to punishment and even torture. The company says that is not the case.
Resorting to medieval times type of torture. This picture is from the 13th century. This is the human WRAP is a new take on medieval century torture. Understand how cooked we are?
Searching for a retired Air Force general who vanished in New Mexico. William McCaslin went missing last month. Members of Congress are warning this could be a national security issue.
California prison guards raped, beat, and sexually abused over 100 women in what's being called the Rape Club prison.
We are literally keeping them sick so they can't resist or fight back.
Denied bond these 5-year-olds by an immigration judge in part based on a lack of property and a lack of assets. That was in a separate decision about each of these children. How much property does a 5-year-old need to not be deemed a significant flight risk?
They stole black people's land, black people's gold, they stole actual black people, and then they started a rumor that black people steal.
Favorite berry? Robbery.
This is the end.
White Americans who say, but wait a second, I never owned a slave. I never beat up a black person. I never told my kid he or she couldn't date, marry, love a black person.
You sure about that?
But why am I paying for 365 years?
First of all, there's probably only 10 or 12 white people that say what you just said in the first place. Because white America...
You are wrong.
Come on, man.
What we're talking about is using a new tactic. The praying, the marching, the begging hasn't worked. Martin Luther King has been dead over 25 years. I was a teenager at the time, and we're worse off now than we've ever been, and things are getting worse for black people.
Message!
Well, as far as we're concerned as white separatists...
Get your fucking hands off me!
We believe that Mr. McGee wants to target the Washington criminals, which many of them are white. We don't care. However, if he does come towards our racial separatist people, he would be annihilated.
First of all, you're throwing too many big words at me.
I don't like that word, annihilation.
You know better than
Don't
he
use
is.
annihilation.
You guys are both the same. They would be killed.
What? They will be killed.
That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
Ryan J. Garcia, the prison's warden, was only sentenced to 5 years after a victim testified she remembers him smiling, recording her naked body as she was beaten by prison guards. Covered in cuts, boot marks, and bruises, she was thrown in solitary confinement for 7 months, and her family was told that she died so no one could see what they did. And by 2035, these rapists will be back in their homes like nothing happened.
Stay with me. So most of the ICE agents are literally moving these pregnant girls and women, and yes, I mean like underage pregnant girls, to the South Texas shelter, which has been flagged as medically inadequate. Their food and water is contaminated. Why are they moving pregnant girls and women to this facility? And not to mention, over half of the inmates there are children. Children. Put 2 and 2 together, people, please. As reports of contaminated food and the spread of measles have been national headlines, ProPublica went inside the facility and through the phone calls, letters, emails, spoke to 24 detainees about treatment of minors inside. Literally getting sick, they may believe, from the water. About the conditions, they really came from their mothers, who I spoke over the phone or emailed, and they would talk to me about the foods the kids could see they believed was contaminated and giving their children sickness. You guys. And the same place is known for detainees vanishing from records and disappeared by the system. You guys, put 2 and 2 together, please. They are trafficking these women and children. Shame on you.
Listen. Have y'all not learned from the past couple of days? Have you not learned?
Learned what? What's our lesson here? What do you want us to learn?
Following federal agents.
Give me my phone back.
Kristi Noem came out and said, because ICE is being funded through the big beautiful bill and it comes out through a different financial bucket, that ICE does not have to operate within the rule of law of a constitutional democracy. Sound familiar? This is exactly what the SS was under Hitler. In 1933, Hitler formed an army that answered only to him in building out concentration camps. Concentration camps, by definition, are camps that operate outside the rule of constitutional democracies. This is what's happening with ICE. ICE is able to operate under its own set of rules. Rules that don't get passed through Congress. Rules that are only made up through one branch of government, which is the executive branch.
So they have their manual because the ventilator is failing because the blackout is something. They can just pump them manually, but the equipment are really old, so you can actually trust
So the arsonist who burnt down the warehouse faces life in prison for alleged $650 million warehouse arson, versus the US government will not prosecute anyone in the Epstein files. So burning a warehouse is worse than pedophilia? Literally the most horrific, disgusting, vile things done to children is less severe than burning a warehouse down?
Former spiritual advisor has been released from jail after serving just 6 months for molesting a 12-year-old girl. Robert Morris, the 64-year-old founder of Gateway Church, one of the largest megachurches in America, walked out of an Oklahoma jail just after midnight after completing the 6-month jail portion of his plea deal. Morris pleaded guilty last October to 5 counts of indecent acts with a minor. The offenses began on Christmas night in 1982 when Morris was a traveling evangelist staying at the victim's family home. Cindy Clemishire says she was molested over a 4.5-year period, starting when she was just 12.
I want to thank Pastors Robert Morris and Steve Dullen. They're great people. Great people with a great reputation, I have to say that. Great reputation.
Robert Morris, the founding pastor of Gateway Church in Southlake, as you see, being led away here in handcuffs, headed to jail after pleading guilty in his Oklahoma child sex abuse criminal case.
Robert Morris, the founder of one of our country's largest churches and a former spiritual advisor to President Trump, has been sentenced to 10 years. The first 6 months he will serve behind bars here in Osage County. The remaining 9.5 years will likely be served as probation. He will have to register as a sex offender as part of this. We have been covering this criminal case since March, when Morris was indicted on 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts with a child for molesting a young girl here in Oklahoma 4 decades ago. He faced up to 20 years in prison for each of those 5 charges. But today's plea came as part of a deal that will limit his time behind bars and allows him to serve the probation that will follow in Dallas. The room was packed with friends and family of the victim, Cindy Clemishire. As you mentioned, she was 12 years old when the abuse began. She is now a grandmother in her 50s.
Aren't just burning down buildings and warehouses anymore. They're taking spray foam and they're flushing it down the toilets in these big corporations like Sam's and Walmart and Target and things like that. And one thing you should know about spray foam is that once it gets in the pipes or anywhere, it hardens like a rock. So they're having to call these plumbers. And it's getting really expensive because they have to replace all the toilets and bust open the concrete and get new lines for all the bathrooms in these places. And it's just so crazy. But the worst part is that the CEOs don't know who's doing it because it's in the bathroom and they can't record in the bathroom. All they're finding is notes on the stall saying you should have paid us a livable wage, and this wouldn't have happened. But what they're really upset about is that their customers are really pissed off because they can't use the bathrooms in their stores. I can't believe that's happening. I thought, burning down warehouses was bad, but this is pretty bad too. My God.
Police have accidentally leaked the spyware they used to hack into our phones. Behind me is a photo taken by a worker at Paragon, a spyware company based in Tel Aviv. And in the photo, we see them actively hacking somebody's phone. Access to TikTok, Snapchat, Telegram, WhatsApp, their full messaging log, as well as browsable messages on the right side. Paragon was made in 2019 in Israel by Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister who's best friends with Jeffrey. The same Paragon that ICE in the United States uses to hack into encrypted apps like Telegram and WhatsApp. They actually have a $1 billion contract with the United States to hack into all of our phones because the US is not allowed to hack into our own stuff. They hacked into somebody called Valentina. It looks like from the Czech Republic, is that flag there's their phone number. And right here it says intercept. So I guess they click into that and they get all of our phone calls we're into. I guess they can just listen into it. This is the girl that posted it in Israel from Tel Aviv University. It's so much worse than we ever imagined.
Breads that have been lab tested and have no glyphosate in them. First up is Ezekiel 4.9. These products have all been tested and they come back negative. Dave's Killer Bread has tested positive for so many of their breads, but the sprouted whole grain tests negative for Roundup. Second is the 1 Degree Organics. The whole bread line is glyphosate free. Then Silver Hill Sprouted Power Little Big Bread. This is also glyphosate free. Same with the Sara Lee Artisan White, as well as the Pepperidge Farmhouse Heart White. And now all of Soul Bread and Bagels have tested negative as well. But there are so many breads out there that do test positive. So download PureScore from the App Store, scan any bread, and it will tell you what's in it, like glyphosate or other contaminants.
And poured something that looked like cooking oil into a small diesel tractor. The engine turned over on the first try, no hesitation, no cough, no black smoke. I stood there for 15 minutes waiting for it to stall. It never did. And when I asked him where he bought the fuel, he looked at me like I had asked the dumbest question in Lancaster County. He pointed to a field behind the barn. I grew it, he said. That was the moment everything changed for me. The plant is hemp, industrial hemp, cannabis sativa. And I need to be clear about something right now, because the confusion between hemp and marijuana was manufactured on purpose. Industrial hemp contains less than 0.3% THC. That is the psychoactive compound. You could smoke an entire bale of industrial hemp and feel nothing but a sore throat. The 2018 Farm Bill made it federally legal to grow, process, transport, and sell industrial hemp anywhere in the United States. It is as legal as corn, as legal as soybeans, as legal as wheat. But for 80 years before that federal bill, hemp was treated the same as a narcotic. And the reason had absolutely nothing to do with anyone getting high. It had everything to do with fuel and money. And for men who had more of both than anyone else in America, let me start with what one plant actually does. Because once you understand this, the rest of the story will make you angry. Hemp seeds contain roughly 30 to 35% oil by weight. That oil can be extracted with a simple cold press, the same kind of press people use for olive oil or sunflower oil. Once you have the oil, it can be converted into biodiesel through a basic chemical process called transesterification. You mix the hemp seed oil with methanol and a small amount of lye, which acts as a catalyst. The mixture reacts. It separates into two layers. The top layer is raw biodiesel. The bottom layer is glycerin, which you can use to make soap. You wash the biodiesel with water, let it dry, and it is ready to pour into any diesel engine ever manufactured. Not a modified engine, not a special engine, any diesel engine. Because the diesel engine was never designed to run on petroleum in the first place, Rudolf Diesel built his engine in the 1890s in Germany. He filed his patent on the 28th of February, 1892. His paper was titled Theory and Construction of a Rational Heat Engine to Replace the Steam Engine. He called it a compression ignition engine. The fuel he envisioned was plant oil.
Water is a public resource, and collecting it without permission is illegal.
In Oregon, a man was convicted and sentenced to jail for collecting and using rainwater on his own land. The state government charged him with theft. Rancher Gary Harrington built 3 large reservoirs on his property to collect rainwater and snowmelt. Harrington said the water was primarily used for fire prevention and to provide drinking water for wildlife. However, the state classified his actions as theft and brought criminal charges against him. Under a municipal regulation, all water resources within city limits, including precipitation, are considered part of the public water supply system. The city asked the court to order the removal of his water collection system and impose fines. Despite multiple appeals, Harrington argued, "The water falls on my land. I didn't sell it. I only used it on my own property." The court ultimately rejected his argument. In the end, Harrington was convicted on multiple charges, including the illegal use of state water resources. He was sentenced to 30 days in jail and fined more than $15,000. The case sparked strong public backlash, with many residents calling it an act of tyranny. If a person cannot even own the rain that falls on their own land, what do they truly own?
What's up, guys? Someone open sourced military grade radar and it tracks multiple targets up to 20 kilometers. Here's the GitHub.
The general was involved with the Pentagon's most advanced aerospace research. He oversaw a classified space weapons program. McCaslin was in charge of the Air Force Research Lab at a base in Ohio. It's rumored that base holds extraterrestrial debris from the Roswell crash site. The general was tied in with the UFO community. A source told the New York Post the general was a gatekeeper for anything UFO related in the Air Force. He retired due to mental fog, but investigators say he's still highly intelligent and capable. McCaslin was an avid hiker. His wife last saw him leaving with a backpack and a .38 revolver. No phone, no glasses. He disappeared 6 days right after Trump announced he was releasing the UFO files. And he's not the only one. 8 months before the general vanished, a rocket scientist who worked under him years ago also went missing. She was hiking in California with 2 other people. They saw her smiling and waving 30 feet behind them. When they turned back again, she was gone, vanished in plain sight. They searched for days and couldn't find any trace of her. This is a very, very strange situation.
And look, green screen, right there. You are fake, NASA, fake news. Get out of here.
Kenya, the capital of Africa. The people here are always on the move.